Good afternoon, this is Ray Collins, high above Times Square in Manhattan. We've got a great view to show you right now. We're going to pan up and show you where the ball drops every New Year's Eve, right up there. We have unprecedented access to the top of Times Square 1, and we're going to show you right now exactly where Nik Wallenda is going to be walking from Times Square 2 toward Times Square 1. Dan Miner joins us now. Dan is Nik's right-hand man. You've been with him all week. And as Charlie sneaks around to show us the wire, tell us the logistics here, Dan. The wire is lower on this end or higher on this end?
It's lower on this end, so it's about 230 feet high where it's rigged right now, and it goes up to about 260 feet, but about 259 feet, so there's about a 30-foot difference, but there's also a catenary in the middle, which is where that dip is. And
now for our viewers at home, you're seeing two wires where the tether will be attached. The lower wire you're seeing, which has, I'm losing the words, not pendulums, it's called?
Pendulums.
Pendulums. That's where Nik will be actually walking. And real quickly, before we send it back to Sarasota, Dan, Nik wanted to walk in which direction to make it easier on his sister?
He wanted to walk from the tower that you're looking at right now towards us, because he's going to be coming downhill at probably about a 10 to 12 degree angle. It's probably pretty difficult to see on camera, but if you look all the way to the top where the Prudential sign is, right underneath that there's a crane. That's kind of underneath that crane is where he's going to be walking from. So he has to come downhill to about the bottom of that green sign, and that's kind of where the wire begins to flatten out and come here. So it's quite a decline. It's much more difficult to walk downhill than it is uphill, so he wanted to kind of take that task on.
And how long do you think the whole thing's going to last?
Well, the walk will probably be between 25 and 30 minutes in total. Nik will finish early, much earlier than that, and his hope is to get back over to the other tower and meet his sister on the other side when she gets there.
Certainly an emotional event for them.
It is.
All right, Dan, thank you for your time. That's it from here in New York City. I'm Ray Collins. Back to you now in the studio in Sarasota.
Two performers from right here in Sarasota attempt to break a world record and walk a wire 25 stories above Times Square. We have so much to tell you about this next hour. We have live reports from New York, along with exclusive video and interviews with Nik and Lijana Wallenda about this death-defying stunt. But our first stop, New York City, where the excitement and anticipation is building. ABC 7's Ray Collins is right in the middle of the crowd, waiting for Nik and Lijana to take the wire. Ray?
Well, they say the neon lights are bright on Broadway, and once the sun goes down here, the lights will be bright for one Nik Wallenda and his sister Lijana, who will be crossing above me about 25 stories up. Crossing Times Square is something that Nik's been thinking about since he first saw the city skyline as a kid, performing in the Meadowlands with his family. I recently had a chance to go out to his estate in eastern Sarasota County and talk more about a day in the life of Nik Wallenda. When you arrive at Nik Wallenda's sprawling 15-acre property, there's something going on at every turn. His sister's son playing by the driveway, a colleague working in the garage, and inside the house, there's Nik, being a husband and father. And at every turn inside the house, there's something that lets you know the head of the household comes from a circus background. From the centerpiece in the dining room to the wall hangings. This is your decor inside, all circus related.
It is. So my mom's father came over to the United States to perform his bareback riding act on the greatest show on earth.
To his office that leaves no doubt you're with Nik Wallenda.
Here's my Sarasota picture that I love.
Oh yes. What do you recall about that day?
I always say that when I choose a walk, I try to think about the postcard that it's gonna, and that to me is a postcard. This was 2 pages in Sports Illustrated at the centerfold.
Look at that, a little speck in a red shirt.
Yep. And then same with this one in a blue shirt. That was 2 pages in Sports Illustrated as well.
Chicago.
And then Chicago, which I love this photo too. It just shows the magnitude.
How long have you lived here?
I've lived here since 2000 and what? About 5 years, 4 years. Yeah.
So you were looking for a place, obviously had a lot of land and enough room for a wire.
Yeah, enough room for a long wire. That's 750 feet long.
Also in the backyard, we could see Nik's sister Lijana in the distance resting between practice walks on the wire. How would you describe your relationship with your sister?
Special, definitely. You know, we grew up traveling together, and when we got in trouble and sent to our room, it was the back of an RV. And we were, you know, we literally were in the back of an Airstream 11 months out of the year touring for most of our childhood.
And that wasn't Nik's last time living on wheels. He raised a family on the road.
We lived in an RV till I was 26. We had 3 kids, so it was tough. And I talk about it a lot in my book, how my marriage almost ended because of that.
Is this what you always envisioned in the back of your mind, living in a giant spread in eastern Sarasota County? Be honest.
You know, I don't know. I always believed that I would be successful in anything that I did. I just knew that. I just didn't realize that it would be in this business, to be honest with you. I thought I was going to go to med school and become a doctor. But I pinch myself. I never imagined I would be this blessed to still live where I love to live here in Sarasota, but also, to have the privacy that I do. And basically, I have everything that I want.
Nik admits it hasn't all been easy as he's gotten more famous over the past few years. He admits there has been some family and some friends that have distanced themselves from him. Some jealousy has crept up. We'll talk more about that next half hour live here in Times Square. For now, I'm Ray Collins. Back to you on the Suncoast.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Marla Spence. It was just less than an hour ago that Nik Wallenda and his sister Lijana made history, the pair overcoming tragedy and walking high up above crowds in New York. ABC 7 Ray Collins have been a step behind Nik in New York for the past 2 days and is now live in New York City with Nik for an exclusive ABC 7 interview.
Marla, certainly an exciting night. We are 31 stories high above Times Square right now, and here's the guest of honor, Nik Wallenda. To say it was a huge relief seems so trite, an understatement. After the accident 2 years ago, though, I bet you're so excited now this is behind you.
I am. It is a huge relief, the fact that my sister was able to make this incredible comeback. I was talking to Michael yesterday, and he was saying that this is comparable to an athlete getting hurt, a football player in the NFL, and coming back and going straight into the Super Bowl. She just went right into the Super Bowl. It's pretty unbelievable that she not only came back, but did a walk 4 times higher and longer, et cetera, than she'd ever done, and did it sort of beautifully.
Yeah. Michael Strahan, football player, and speaking of football, let's play Monday morning quarterback now. What might not have gone off to plan tonight that we didn't realize as laymen?
Oh, well, at the end of the show, I was announcing my next TV special, and unfortunately, there were some technical difficulties, and I wasn't able to announce it. But I'm going to announce it again tomorrow morning on Good Morning America. But I'm going to announce it again right now, too. So about 5 years ago, I did a BuzzFeed article, and in that article, it was very, very detailed, and they asked me what I had on the list. And one of the biggest walks that I've wanted to do for a long time is to walk over an active volcano. And it's been a dream of mine for a long time, and after these 5 years, we finally located that volcano, and I'll be walking over, hopefully pretty soon, live on ABC.
You can't say where yet, though.
I can't tell you the exact locations yet, but we do have that all in the process right now.
Now, when you and Leon were walking toward each other, it seemed you arrived at the destination first. Is it hard to stand still on a wire 25 stories up?
It is. It's very hard. It's hard for me to stand still on the ground for more than 60 seconds or 30 seconds even. I go, 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 my wife will tell you, and I lay my head down on the pillow and I'm out. She'll talk to me within, honestly, 10 seconds. It is crazy. I am sleeping. And and I did sleep great today, which is good. I was able to take a couple naps. But yeah, it's hard to stop because look, you're a couple hundred feet up, and I was like, what can I do here? I actually knelt down. I was thinking about doing some push-ups.
Nice.
Because I figured I'd make it on SportsCenter. And I was about to do it, and I'm like, but if that moves the wire for her, that's not going to be good, so I better just stand back up and wait. And that's what I ended up doing.
Was there any kind of urge after you passed each other to glance over your shoulder at all?
Absolutely. I mentioned it to her actually on the wire. Hey, I wish I could see you still. There was something very emotional to me, and I started to tear up on the wire as she was walking towards me. Just everything she's overcome. She shouldn't be alive, let alone walking. But not only walking, but again, making a comeback 260 feet above Times Square is pretty surreal.
And I want to give you a chance to talk about your motivation for this, because I know there's a larger purpose to this. The people out there watching on the couch who each have their own wires to cross. I like how you say that.
Yeah, that's right. I think everybody is on the wire in one way or another. My great-grandfather has that famous quote, life is on the wire, everything else is just waiting. And it applies to everybody. He didn't realize it when he said it, but it is so applicable. But it is been my desire for the last, since probably the Grand Canyon, just to motivate and inspire people. And that's why, as I was seeking permission for this, I thought, what better way to inspire people than to involve my sister who had to overcome so much? The fact that she shouldn't be alive. It is astounding. And again, I truly mean this from the bottom of my heart. I don't do that for pride. I don't even do that to impress people. I do that because I want to carry other people on our backs and on our shoulders to the other side. And I believe that people jumped on tonight. My sister was able to overcome her worst nightmare and face her fears, and we all need to face our fears.
And we might see you two perform again someday?
there's no question you'll see us perform again someday soon.
Well, we'll see you back in Sarasota soon.
Awesome.
Congratulations.
Thanks so much.
All right, Nik Wallenda, 31 stories high above Times Square, successful night. It's Ray Collins. We'll send it back to Sarasota.
Team coverage this morning as Nik Wallenda and his sister Lijana successfully made it across the high wire in New York City. That's where my co-anchor, ABC 7's Ray Collins, is this morning, live in Times Square. Ray, they have to take this wire down this morning.
Yeah, they took the wire down overnight, Emily. They did that about just after midnight till about 2 a.m. Broadway has since reopened. You know, I thought when I was going to be out here at 5 a.m. it would be deserted out here, but what do you know, in New York City, life goes on here. It's a bustling place for 5 a.m. Let me step out of the way right now, and you'll see that traffic is once again open on Broadway. We're showing up top there where Nik was last night, walking toward his sister, and Lijana walking toward him. We've got some video from last night, much different story where I'm standing. There was I'm not sure the actual estimate yet, but I would say over 100,000 people were here all along Broadway for last night's walk. I asked Nik afterwards. It was so emotional in the fact that he and his sister had the accident 2 years ago, and after he crossed her last night and stepped over her on the wire, and they walked in different directions, I asked him if it was difficult not to want to turn back over his shoulder to check on his big sister.
I mentioned it to her actually on the wire. Hey, I wish I could see you still. I mean, there was something very emotional to me, and I started to tear up on the wire as she was walking towards me. Just everything she's overcome. I mean, she shouldn't be alive, let alone walking. But not only walking, but again, making a comeback 260 feet above Times Square is pretty surreal.
We are back live now, looking inside the studio of Good Morning America here in Times Square. Nik will be appearing on GMA at 7:40 this morning, and part of his appearance will involve his details of where he plans his next event. He has already told us it's going to be walking over a live volcano, and he'll detail that right behind me in the studio. We'll come back at 5:30 and talk more about last night and hear more from my exclusive interview with Nik Wallenda during last night's 11 o'clock news. For now, live in Times Square, Emily, I'm Ray Collins. Back to you.